Hello everyone. My name is Alan. Joining me today are Alex, Kim, my good friend, and Serbin Cruzada. If you guys could just maybe like introduce yourselves a little bit, give me a little bit of background, like yeah, just like a brief introduction. Alex, you wanna start us off?
Yeah, I'll take us off. My name's Alex, last name Kim. Hello, everybody. A little bit about me. I'm 23 years old, Korean American, second generation man. I am currently just living through life right now, Yeah, taking it one day at a time, living it up.
Yeah, thank you. All right,
Yeah.
Serbin.
Hello. My name is Serbin Cruzada. I'm also 23, Filipino American. Currently, my third year at CSUN. As I'm a public health major, and I'll be graduating next spring.
Yes,
All right,
sir.
sounds good to hear.
Yeah.
All right, so I've known you guys for a long time.
Very long.
For a long time. You guys are
long.
very close friends to me. So I'm actually very excited to have you guys on and like have this conversation with you guys.
Yes, thank you for having us on.
Yeah.
Just as equally excited.
Okay, so one question I want to start us off with is a question that I read in a book, and I want you guys to each think of an answer for this in your own mind, and then let me know. So the question is, what is the most important step a man can take? All right. So if you guys
That's a
have any
good
ideas-
question. God.
Because I think there's a lot of important steps
Mhm.
that a man eventually will have to take. I think it'd be kind of hard to pinpoint one exact most important.
I'm thinking this more, I'm asking this more in the sense of like a hypothetical, not in terms of like a specific step in life, but like just throughout life, more in the abstract,
Well, for me, I think the most important step a man can take is to take on responsibility,
Okay.
right? And that can be either developing a family, right?
Yeah.
When you have children and a wife, like having that responsibility to be able to kind of provide and to be there for them, right?
Yeah.
But that can also not just be financial responsibility, but also like familial responsibility where you're really there for them as like a family, like trying to help them grow. But yeah, that's a tough question.
Yeah. No, I love your answer. Yeah.
Wow.
Responsibility is definitely one of the most important things that a man like has to take on. I think like as individuals, as people, I definitely agree. Like responsibility is something that you have to learn to accept, because like there comes a time when you have to like grow out of your shell of who you are and then grow up to become the person that you're meant to be, the person that you want to be for yourself, right? And that takes on a lot of responsibility. Serbin, do you have an idea?
Yeah, I'm a little bit on the opposite side of the spectrum actually.
Okay.
So I think the most important step a man has to take is finding that drive or that purpose in their life.
Okay.
In terms of what they want to do and what they want to pursue.
Right.
And that's like I don't think it's necessarily a step that's just like it's solved right away. I think for some it may take longer than others.
Yeah.
But I think in order to take on that responsibility, the person has to be sure of themselves, and that comes with knowing who they are, what drives them, what they want in life.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I love that answer as well. It's asking the question of why, right? Why do you do
Right.
what you do?
Yeah.
What is the purpose? What is the drive? What is your motivation? Right? What drives you? I think that as well is very important. In terms of this question specifically, what I thought was the first step.
What do you mean by that?
So
Yeah.
the most I thought initially the most important step a man can take is the first step. it's starting. It's
Hmm.
it's the first step towards a journey that you're about to embark on, right?
Right.
And I thought that at first, but the book actually gave a different answer. And the book said that the most important step a man can take is the next one. So it's not about the start, but it's about how you continue, how you move on, right? It's kind of like the message of like how will you get up after failures? How will you take the failures that like you're eventually going to experience throughout your life, and how do you move forward?
Right.
So it sounds like it's really like taking into account what really happens to you and like how you kind of get up from that, right? It's persevering while having a lot of grit, even though there are failures, right? Because there are a lot of failures in life that do happen, but it's like really about how you get up from those. So fall down 11, get back up 12.
Right. Wow. I love that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like how do you move forward? How do you go? How do you continue? How do you keep going? Right, perseverance, definitely.
Are there certain things that you guys find that help you kind of persevere through these like troubling times?
I think it's really having a strong belief in yourself, and that comes through failure. Yeah.
What do you mean by believing in yourself? Like,
So I guess so many things in life are unsure, but the one thing you can be in control of is how sure you are of yourself. If you aren't sure of yourself, you wouldn't believe in taking that next step, right? You wouldn't feel confident in that. That's how I kind of feel about that.
Okay.
I actually think that being sure of yourself isn't something that's essentially guaranteed, because as your identity changes, as you go through life experiencing different things, your identity changes, right?
Right.
So what you can fall back on, which is your identity, constantly shifts. So it's not something that is entirely stable. And I think rather than your ability to like, how do I say this? I don't know specifically what would be the best thing to fall back on to remain consistent in life. But for me personally, it's I think this actually comes back to what you said before, Serbin. It's the drive. It's the question of why, because it's the bigger question behind what you do, right? It's no matter like what life throws at you, no matter the difficulties that you face, you know that you're doing this because of a higher mission.
Right. I agree with that.
I think this also ties back to Alex, what you said about responsibility, because you definitely have to take responsibility in terms of what or how you're going to move about life. If that makes sense.
Take responsibility in how you move about life.
Yeah, in the like. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I was going somewhere.
No, it happens.
I was ready. I was ready to follow along. Yeah.
Okay, something that's very integral in our friendship is video games.
Oh,
Right,
yes.
we've definitely bonded a lot over our experiences playing video games. I want to ask you guys, what does video games like? What role does it play in your lives as of right now? And has it evolved? Has it changed through the past?
Yeah. Well, I used to play a lot of video games, and I really don't as much anymore.
Yeah.
I guess video games for me is something I know I can always fall back to if I want to enjoy something. But what video games gave me growing up was a sense of how to improve. For example, in League of Legends, like learning different strategies in order to to get a higher rank, or in like Smash Bros, learning different techniques to improve overall gameplay. Just little stuff like that. Learning how to be efficient with your time. So when you're practicing, it's not like you're just wasting time. You're actively trying to improve towards a certain skill or goal.
Right.
But yeah, video games really changed a lot in my life. Kind of just thinking about it. You know, we wouldn't have been as close without it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I definitely agree with Serbin. Like, video games growing up was pretty big, right, within our friend group. Just like after school, just hop on Discord. You're still able to talk to your homies, all right, like play games. And that's for me where I kind of have to differ a little from Serbin. Instead of, I think Serbin's saying there's like small minor improvements that you can make in games, right? For me, I'm the complete opposite. Like there's like some fun aspects in like learning that, like how to improve yourself in the game.
Right.
But for me, it's more of just like the fun to it, you know, like I don't care if I'm fucking playing like shit, like top lane, I'm getting my ass whooped, right? Like for me, it's like, okay, yeah, that's fine. But as long as like my homies are laughing, we're having a good time over like stupid stuff that happens, right? Like I'm flashing over a wall and I just completely whip it, or anything like that, right? That's the part where I really enjoy. But I definitely do see the competitive aspect to it, which I really highly do respect, right? Like there's a certain level of gameplay and artistry that needs to happen in order for people to become like amazing, right? Like y'all are cracked to me. I'm not gonna lie. I cannot get to that level, but at the same time, like for me, I strive to just have more fun in games, right? And yeah, that's like how I kind of look at it.
Yeah. Would you say that that's how you approach gaming right now? Like when you play today, that's the same approach that you take?
Yeah. So like, it's not really about the game for me, right? Like I can play any game, but for me, the way that I look at it, it's just like a time where we can kind of just hop on like this sometimes and then just like talk to some people, right? And I do see it as a double-edged sword in that it becomes dangerous when like you're always on Discord and you kind of lose that aspect of talking to other people in like real life or like connecting with them on a different level, right? And so it is like a very double-edged sword, I do see. But just kind of understanding that really allows me to like try to work towards having both and like creating that balance.
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah. That's very interesting. I actually I'm very similar to Serbin in the sense that I played games mostly for the sense of improvement and trying to kind of like constantly better myself and improve at the game, get better. And that's what brought me the most joy. Alongside playing with my friends and spending time with you guys like online. That was definitely what drove me to play so much. In terms of like nowadays, I've realized that I use games kind of as a crutch. You know, it's kind of like a way for me to, because like games are an escape, right? It's an escape from the everyday life, and I've realized that it's something that I use that negatively impacts my life because of my inability to control it. It's like something that it's so easy to play and it's so hard to control that it kind of just consumes me. But like I'm starting to take a step back and like actively control it, and really like filling my time with other things definitely helps.
Right.
So yeah, games are.
I definitely agree. Like games are very difficult to control. They're like controlled. They're very addicting. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, and I have a very addictive personality disorder where if I like something, you know, I fucking like it.
Yeah, you love it.
It's a little hard to kind of stop sometimes. And so I definitely see how it could negatively impact you.
Yeah.
For sure. What are some of the things you've just been doing to fill in the time?
I've actually, so like I used to just try and read more because I thoroughly enjoy reading a lot. But it gets hard because reading for long periods of time is it's just not like something that I can sit down and do. Like I'll read for short periods, but like reading itself it's difficult to fill in that long of a time. Something else that I've taken up is chess.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's a different type of game,
Yeah.
but it's like it's a beautiful game.
It is.
It's a
It
beautiful
is.
game. Like the amount of strategy that goes into it and thinking and preparation, it's so it makes you think so critically, right?
Yes.
So I've been spending a lot of time on chess.
Yeah, I see you with Mr. Josh on running the chess games. Chess is really fun though.
The,
For sure.
the thing I really find interesting about chess is that there's so much pattern recognition in it.
Yeah.
Just doing like daily puzzles, it
Yeah.
improves how many times, like just different ways to find checkmate,
Mhm.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
I remember vaguely reading a study about like masters and GM chess players.
Yeah.
They would show them a picture of a board with just different layouts, and just depending on how it is, they would find the best move right away.
Yeah.
But the study showed that if the pieces were laid out in like completely random order, they wouldn't be that much better than like just the average player. So
Wow.
yeah, so how the board is laid out is so important in how they figure things out, which is kind of interesting to me.
Yeah. There's like so much study and like knowledge behind how pieces interact with each other and how they move.
Right.
It's really it's an amazing game.
Yeah.
It's an amazing
We
game.
really gotta get like an over the board set. Just like go to a park or something.
Oh,
Yeah,
that would be a vibe.
Sure.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah. We should make that happen.
Yeah, definitely.
How are you, Serge? What else have you been doing for your free time?
Oh, just the usual. I think school and work take up most of my time, but just like on the side, I love learning jazz piano.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I haven't been practicing as much lately because I've been really busy with school. But just music is such a beautiful thing, and how to approach it. It really is its own language, and learning that language is just so sweet.
Yeah. Dude.
Like you can apply it to any music, not just jazz in general. But like you'll hear how the song flows and ebbs, and it's just it's so good.
So I'm gonna have to say
beautiful.
I picked up piano because of you. Like you are one of like the greatest piano inspirations that I have, and it's just because I see how much like love and care like you put into the song. You know, you could really feel the emotions coming out of it, and it's just such an amazing feeling.
Yo,
man.
yeah.
It is amazing.
Wait, that's me too, actually. Yeah. No, I picked up a piano after I heard Serbin play. Like it's beautiful.
I
bro.
love that.
It's
I love
beautiful.
that. Yeah.
It inspired me. Me.
Thank you.
100%.
It's a never-ending journey too. It's just
Yeah.
there's just so much you can learn with it.
Yeah. And there's so much creative space that like you
Right.
can really just go. You know,
Right.
there's nothing holding you back really. Okay, question for you guys. If you could meet anyone in the world, dead or alive, who would you meet and why? Who would you meet and why?
Wow.
Yeah, you guys can take some time on this one.
You got
My brain's working overtime. All right, Alan, we got a little brain fart situation going.
Okay,
You got an answer?
Yeah,
for it?
yeah.
You got an answer? Okay.
I do. Well, okay. This is something that I've thought about a lot. I would want to meet Alan Watts.
Who's
Alan Watts. He was a British philosopher who studied Eastern philosophies. So he studied Buddhism, Tao, Zen. He studied all of it, and he basically broke it down and converted it, or tried and like explain it in Western terms, so that like American people or British people, like people of Western societies, could understand it and trying to incorporate it into their lives. So like I've read a couple of his books, and the way that he breaks it down is very it's very easy to understand these philosophies, these ways of life. And I feel like that it's really helped me trying to incorporate it into my own life.
Okay.
Which is something I still struggle with, but I try to do. And I think like just being able to if I could like sit down and have a conversation with him, I think it'd be really eye opening. You know?
What kind of question would you ask him? Like right now, you sitting at
Like
the
right now,
table. Yeah.
I would ask him what is the best way to live in the present.
Mm.
But okay, but then this question is also like it's also answered within the philosophy.
Uh-huh.
Basically, the answer is like don't try. Don't try to live in the present because when you try to live in the present to stay in the present and focus on it, you remove yourself from the present because you put in that effort. It's kind of abstract in the sense that an analogy that he uses is like trying to send water in a paper parcel. So like you try and wrap up water with paper and string and tie it and send it in mail. Like it's not gonna work.
Oh, okay.
You know, like the harder you try, like the worse it's gonna be. That's just like an analogy that he uses in his books. But
That's a pretty cool analogy.
yeah.
Wait, okay. So just to better understand this guy, like,
Mhm.
so he was a follower of what, like Buddhism, Taoism, like all of these other different philosophies that he kind of just looked more into.
Yeah, so
Right.
he basically studied all of these Eastern philosophies.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then, like by studying, do you mean like he was like an active follower of them? Like he learned more about their religion? Like he had faith in like whatever higher beings there were? Like, okay, I guess like the way
Mhm.
that I'm trying to explain it is
Yeah.
for me, like religion, you have to believe in something higher, right?
Okay.
But with that aspect, there is like a certain relationship that you can like build with that higher being or like God or in other religion, like other religions, gods, right?
Right.
But could a person fully understand that religion if they don't have like that intimate connection with that higher being?
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. I just want to make the clear distinction that what Alan Watts studied was philosophies.
Oh, philosophy.
So these were ways of life. I mean, you could amount it to religion because Buddhism kind of takes on this religious presence within the lives of like a lot of Eastern countries.
Mhm.
But I wouldn't say that these are strictly religions, right?
Okay.
Because religions have a faith and a belief in a higher being.
Mhm.
I see philosophies more as a way of life,
Mhm.
as a way to live your everyday life. Um, this is yeah, I think this is separate from belief in a higher being.
Okay, so
Right.
it's more he was looking at how they live their daily lives, right? And then kind of created certain philosophies about how they were like living.
Yes. Well, okay. So these philosophies are like well established within the Eastern countries, right? So they're very old. They're
Mm.
very old, and like they have a lot of backgrounds within the countries themselves. So I think you could have both a religion and a philosophy, like a way of life, right? So
Okay.
that's the way that I would answer that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's solid. Do you have like any off the top of your head that like certain philosophies that you're kind of reading about?
Yeah, so I studied Zen. Um, so okay, so the thing with Eastern philosophies is they basically all originate from one, which is Buddhism,
Mm.
right? But as Buddhism spread throughout the East, each country kind of adapted it in their own ways, and then they kind of like interpreted it or they changed it to fit their own needs, right? So it's evolved throughout the years, which is why there's so many different philosophies, but they all essentially have the same root.
So it
Right.
leads back to Buddhism.
Yes. Not okay. Sorry, not Buddhism. But yogic tradition.
Okay.
So, yogic tradition stemmed Buddhism, which stemmed basically everything else. Okay, but back to your original question. The two that I studied the most was Zen Buddhism, and Buddhism by itself.
Okay.
Zen Buddhism was very prevalent in Japan and China, I believe. But it's essentially like you could amount life to it basically talked a lot about the importance of living in the present, and letting things go, like taking the natural course of life, rather than imposing a strict will or no will at all, right? It's kind of like the middle path. It's sorry, it's the Tao.
Tao.
Yeah, not Zen. Scratch that. It's the
Okay.
Tao. Like Taoism. But yes, that's essentially it.
Okay. Yeah. Solid. No, I didn't know much about it, so I was like a little more curious about it.
Yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like they're like really into like just living in the present, right?
Mhm.
And I guess like for me, like for a while I kind of followed like this path of hedonism, right? It was just like very pleasure seeking, like it's what I wanted to do, right?
Mhm.
And I guess that's how I kind of saw life, as like really living in the moment, really living in the present.
Mhm.
But I realized that over time, like it's not all about that immediate pleasure, right? That immediate gratitude that comes for you. Certain steps that you can take to really build up. Like an example would be like nicotine, right? Nicotine is just an instant hit of gratification,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But when you like slowly work on something to try to improve yourself day by day,
Mhm.
right? Like making yourself 1% better each day and
Yeah.
seeing like the gradual improvement,
Yeah.
it really allowed me to kind of be living more in that present moment.
Mhm.
And that's just because for me, it's like stopping and smelling the roses, right?
Yeah.
Just like taking it one day at a time, one day of improvement for myself.
Mhm.
And it like really allowed me to take in life for what
Yeah.
it is, right? Like life is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Life is
Yeah.
fucking gorgeous.
Mhm.
I got you guys, like the sun's out, blue skies. It's awesome, man.
Yeah. No, there's a lot to be grateful for. In terms of like the nicotine and instant gratification, I don't know if there's so much difference between living in the present for that, but something that Buddha once said was everyone is enlightened. The beggar, the average person, the president or the king, like everyone is enlightened, right? It's just that's what life is.
All right.
That's what
Could you define
enlightenment
like
is.
what is enlightenment? Just in general, yeah.
It's a hard question to answer. I think that's what enlightenment is, to live in the present. It's to appreciate the moments that you're living and really be grateful for what you have in life, living moment to moment.
So if a person
Mhm.
could live in the moment,
Yes.
that would make them an enlightened person.
That's what enlightenment is.
Mm.
But everyone is enlightened. It's not a state that you can reach, but it's just a way of life. That's like my understanding of it. I don't know if it's the most accurate, but do you have any more questions on this, or 'cause I have other questions?
Oh yeah, we can go for the other questions.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I was just trying to understand.
Yeah. Okay, what is one skill you wish you had, and why?
You got one?
Yeah, these are some tough questions. So
No, I wish I could cook better.
Mm.
I wish I knew how to tie a tie.
Those are some solid qualities. Wait, you said one skill, right?
yes, one skill.
Okay, I got mine.
Okay.
All right. If I can like perfect one skill,
Yes.
it would be the art of communication. And the reason I say communication is because you're not able to understand anyone
Uh huh.
if you're not able to communicate with them, right?
Yeah.
Like whether it be just wanting to speak to someone heart to heart, or like if you're trying to sell something, right?
Yeah.
Like you need to learn what their problems are and not necessarily have solutions for those problems, but like come from a place of understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would have to be mine for sure.
Yeah, I love that. I might just take that. Because it really is such an important skill. The thing about practicing communicating is you have to actually communicate.
Right.
In order to build that skill, you have to actively do it.
Yeah. And sometimes it's a little scary too, you know, because it takes
definitely.
like some level of like giving in a way, or vulnerability. That's the word.
Definitely.
Right. And especially in times when like it seems like everyone is racing, right? It's very kind of easy to compare yourself with others and like kind of build up these defenses, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I actually was reading a book. It's called The Meaning of Life. It's a small little picture book, really cute.
Uh-huh.
But it said, why do we feel so comfortable when we're with others, yet we build shells and barriers when we're with them, right? And like, yeah, like we, like thinking about that, we yearn for this like communal aspect where like it's like a togetherness, right? And that definitely goes back way back when everyone just trying to survive by being together, right? Exactly, yeah, with like tribes. But at the same time, like there needs to be vulnerability. And so yeah, I think it's very important.
Why do you think that people build the walls when they're with other people?
Well, I mean, there's many aspects to it, right? Like if relationships are definitely a two-way street, right?
Yeah.
So if one person is very vulnerable while the other's not really too vulnerable, it kind of makes it difficult to really truly express yourself, because you don't know what they're thinking, right? It's like, oh, they may be judging me. There's a lot of ifs that can happen, right? But at the end of the day, it's if you're able to really communicate with each other and like learn where that person's coming from while being vulnerable at the same time, and it really helps you like connect with that person one-on-one. Yeah.
And I think a big part of it is actually protecting your own ego.
Yeah. I think it's definitely like a fear of just a general fear. It's a fear of being vulnerable, a fear of having your ego damaged, a fear of being rejected. Right? Because there's always a fear of being rejected. There's always the possibility of that when you interact with another person.
Oh yeah.
Right. That's something that I've noticed for me, like especially, really prevents me from doing the things that I want, like talking to people that I want to talk to, and it's hard. It's hard to overcome that fear, but I think we have to make that effort. You know.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I love you guys. You guys can come to me whenever you guys fucking ever need to. You know what I'm saying?
I love you.
Love y'all.
Okay. Is there one moment in your guys' lives where you recall that this, or looking back, is there one moment that has really shaped and impacted who you are as a person today?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Can you guys speak on that a little bit?
For me, it was my first heartbreak. I think when I was in that relationship, I got to a point of complacency, and I never really did anything for myself. And growing out of that experience, I became more sure of who I am and who I want to be. You know, I started picking up different hobbies, just doing things for myself rather than Jewel. Changed me a lot. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Your heartbreaks are rough, man.
Yeah.
They're rough. But
definitely.
you looking mighty huge. I mean, you've been busting it out the gym. You know? You're looking good, Serbin. Yeah. But definitely I'm very sorry about like your heartbreak.
I don't think there's anything to be sorry about. I think it's a natural part of life. Heartbreak doesn't necessarily have to be from like a relationship. It could be like heartbreak of the passing of a family member.
Yeah.
Something like that. Everybody will eventually go through heartbreak. But just going back to our topic, it's about that next step.
Right.
Yeah.
about what you want to do after that, I think is very important.
Yeah. I love that. I love that, man.
Certainly, would you say that that you're better off because of it?
Oh, most definitely.
You've grown
Yeah.
from the experience.
Mhm.
If you could change having gone through that, would you?
No, I would definitely go through it again, but maybe I would change my mindset
Mm.
around it.
Hmm.
No, yeah, I think the way I processed it, I took as much time as I did because that's just what felt right for me.
Yeah.
I don't think I would change anything.
I guess for me, yeah, definitely a big impact moment in my life was definitely my parents splitting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was a huge one. It was right when I was 18, so heading off to college. So it was like a very new transition, right? Like going to college. Oh shit, parents split. Like,
yeah.
okay, what do I do, right? And so, for a while, like I was very mad, right? Like just mad at the world. I was like,
Yeah.
fuck this, like, right? And yeah, I was very specifically on my dad. I was very mad at, right? Because like the way that he went about it was not the right way, right? And I remember we were at like a wood ranch, we were eating, and then we were all just like talking, and then at the end of it, like he started walking out, right? And my brother said, if you walk out on us right now, like you're walking away from us completely forever, right? And he said, you know what? That's fine. Like you guys will understand one day, right? And for me, I was like, that doesn't really make sense, right? I was like really pondering it, trying to like figure that out for such a long time, right? And I wanted to understand both perspectives, right? Like my dad's and mom's side, which I do now. But yeah, I was like it was very angry times, like just like very lost, right? And then for me, like I turned more towards myself in a way, right? So that's what I was going back to, like the hedonistic pathway, right? Just like very pleasure seeking, like I don't want to go to school today. Fuck it. I'm gonna go play golf, right? Like I'm going to the range. I don't want to do this. Like I'm just gonna do this, right? And then like I was doing that for a really long time, and you would think like, hell yeah, that sounds fun as fuck, right? But there definitely was like some point where I realized like this is not it, right? Like even though I'm doing everything that I could imagine like what I want to be doing in this moment, like for some reason I'm still not content, and like I feel very like lonely in that moment, right? And so for me, I had to figure out like a new direction to take, right? And so that for me looked like understanding where both of my parents were coming from. So in the end of it, I can forgive them, right?
Yeah.
Because forgiveness is like the biggest thing, right? And like just touching in on religion just a tiny bit, you know, like I see myself as a Christian, right? Like trying to get closer with God. And one of the biggest things that God really did was he forgave, right? Like, and the way that I see it, it's if I can't forgive people like right now, later on in life, right? Like, cause I believe in heaven, right? When I go up and like meet him face to face, right? How is he going to forgive me if I can't forgive people right now? Right. And like, he is a very loving God, right? Et cetera, et cetera. But that really dawned on me for a while. Right. And so the biggest part that really changed me was, like I noticed it with just like my friends, with like my family, right? Like I was very just to myself. I didn't really care. Like if like people were talking, it sounds like an asshole, right? Like a very asshole, right? Like when people were talking to me, I'm just like taking it in. I'm like, okay, cool. Right. Like I was just very focused on myself in that moment. But I've come to realize that life is more than just like holding in that anger, like holding in that frustration, because it, like at the end of the day, it just eats you up inside, right? And so that's when I looked more towards like rebuilding lost connections that I had, or could be like something so small, but just to make someone else's day, right? Like just like calling someone up, you know, catching up with them, like saying, what's up? How you doing? Right. Like something as small as that can be so important, just because like we don't really realize what's going on in everyone's lives. Right. And it's a blessing that we have so many friends, so many families. Right. But at the same time, a little bit of a curse, because it does become a little difficult to kind of like build strong connections in that sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I guess that's where I really was like focused towards. So that's what I'm doing right now, like learning how to forgive, especially my dad, right? Like rebuilding connections with you guys, my family, Bea, like just everyone in general, right? And it's definitely a process, but it's a process that I'm enjoying because I'm learning more about myself that I wouldn't have known before.
Have you found forgiveness within yourself for your parents?
So I've definitely like am still learning how to forgive, right? Because at one point in my life, like I was set. I was like, all right, I'm not talking to like my dad. Like I'm not doing this, this, and this, right?
Yeah.
But I realized like he wasn't happy at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be someone that's holding him back from being happy, right? And if that meant like finding someone else, like starting a new life, then that's understandable and that's fine, right?
Yeah.
Because it's his life at the end of the day, right? And like I want to make sure he's going to be as happy as he can be. And so I do kind of understand that point, but it still is like a little awkward, like talking with them here and there, right? Like very traditional Asian parents, very like, yeah, just very strict. And so I'm still finding the time to really do that, but I definitely do want to do that in the future.
Yeah, I think just having the mindset that of wanting to is so important because like I'm sure as you guys know like Asian dads it's just so hard to communicate like it's so hard to open up especially as men right? Because there's just this whole like culture instilled in us like you have to be strong, you can't show vulnerability, right? But it's so counterintuitive to like how we should build healthy relationships.
For sure, that shit sucks. How it is. Definitely opening up is a key. Got to talk to people about what's going on. Kind of read minds.
Which I think our group does a pretty good job at. Just like being open about what's going on in our lives, what's been bothering us. We're very accepting of each other and our problems.
That's what I love.
We're definitely trying more. Definitely trying more.
Definitely.
I think I still think we have room to grow. Like there's definitely like a lot of areas that we can improve our relationships. Because our group is so big, it's hard to build these closer connections. I think something to keep in mind. I think like something I keep in mind for myself is like lead by example. Like open up, and then others will open up to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Something that I've been trying to practice. Yeah.
Yeah, you've been a great example, man. Ever since Boy Scouts, I'd always look to the out. I don't know what I do. He's right there, perfect model Boy Scout. Like actually,
no, you knew plenty to do.
Here in the I had a good teacher,
Thank you.
How about you, Alan? Yeah, has there been like a big moment of impact for you?
Yes. So for me, it would be my dad handing me a book on, I think it was called How to Live Your Life. I don't remember the title, but it was basically a book on spirituality. A book on spirituality and controlling or being mindful of your thoughts and how you approach your life that way. And that really opened up my spiritual journey in this life because I'm a pretty spiritual person. I would say I've done a lot of work in terms of meditation, journaling, just working on myself and trying to understand the world at large and myself, like who I am as an individual, my purpose, like what drives me. Going back to our why, our question of why. But that really opened up the door for me to explore a whole different aspect of life that I really delved deep into, and I think has positively impacted my life for the better.
What was like a big teaching from the book that like really stuck with you, if any?
So this is the interesting thing because like when I read the book, I didn't understand most of it, right? I didn't absorb probably like let's say like 80% of it.
Okay.
But as I continue to read more books on spirituality, the ideas would overlap, right? And so I would start to understand and absorb more of these ideas as I read more books, because the ideas were carried over through the books, and I would gain a deeper understanding of the idea when I'd read it in another book. So like what I know right now, what I apply to my life in terms of spirituality is a compound of everything that I've read, because my understanding builds on each book, on each concept.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So like just to understand, like so you found like multiple of this like kind of similar texts, right? Where you like recognize a pattern. You're like, hey, I've seen this like more than once, right?
Yeah. It's probably
you,
important.
Right. It's probably important.
Yeah.
Something's going on.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you would just like dive deeper into those and like really understand it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
got you.
Yeah, that's where I would try and get a better understanding of it, and then like it would dawn on me. So like I would actually start to understand the concept. Yeah, because before I would just like read it and be like, oh, okay, cool, but then the next time I read it, I would get a better understanding.
Got you.
I think that's beautiful for both of you guys.
Thank you.
In terms of your moments of great impact, because I just like looking back over the years, I really do see like the growth in both of you guys. Like for example, for you, Alex, trying to connect with lost connections. Like you'll call me up every now and again, which I really do appreciate. I love that shit so much. Like it really means a lot to me.
Yeah, I love seeing your face, Serbin. It just makes my day 10 times better.
But you'd always wake me up from my nap.
Shoot, I gotta get better at the timing.
But yeah, and with you, Alan, like your growth in spirituality. So I remember like back in like middle school, you'd say you're an atheist.
Yeah.
And to hear you say that you're a very spiritual person now, it's very beautiful.
Yeah. Spirituality has a special place in my heart, just like the whole journey that I've been through. Something I'm curious about, if you guys don't mind sharing, what has happened within your households or your parents' relationship changed your own perspective on marriage and a family? Because I know generally people have their strongest ideas of what love is by observing their parents, right? Because we don't know as children, and our parents are the first people that we can watch, we can truly understand as an idea of what love is. It doesn't mean that it's right, because there are a lot of wrong relationships where love isn't properly expressed or experienced. I'm just curious, has your guys' idea of marriage, love, family relationships shifted or changed in any way?
So I guess my idea of love has definitely changed over the years. As I grew older, my parents' relationships, my parents' relationship got worse. Just in terms of loving each other. But I guess what I can say from what I learned is that their love for their children was really the glue that binded the family together. And both my parents are very unselfish in that they prioritized me and my siblings' future and happiness over themselves. So even if their relationship wasn't doing that great, as long as we were doing fine, that's all that mattered to them. My mom would always say growing up, like, oh, it's okay, like go ahead and eat this. As long as you're eating, I don't have to eat anything. Like just stuff like that. Yeah. And with my dad, he'd be working 12-hour days, 5 days a week. No complaints. He'd come home, cook dinner for us, wash the dishes, go right to bed because he'd have to wake up 4 a.m. in the morning. Just very unselfish people. I think that's something I kind of took away from that, what it means to love, which I don't know if it's necessarily the healthiest. I'm also very unselfish, but sometimes at the cost of my own happiness, which I think they've been going through over the past 20 or so years, right? But yeah, it's still a learning experience. Just knowing what it means to love.
Yeah, it sounds like your expression of love or the way that you go about love is mirrored. It's like it's very similar to how you describe your parents' love,
Right,
right?
because my parents didn't have a very like affectionate relationship. I guess I never really saw them like hug or kiss or just like stuff like that. So I, I guess my idea of love is more about like the deeper connection without necessarily like affectionate side of it, which I wasn't really exposed to growing up.
Alex, has your idea of love or marriage, family changed?
For me, fortunately, like growing up, I was pretty sheltered, right? Like whenever my parents would argue, they would always go in their room, right? Like try not to do it in front of my brother and I. But I think they really instilled in me, like very similar to Serbin, right? Like putting others before yourself in a sense, right? Like I'm not taking away from the fact that like you still need to put time in for yourself, but it's also just like what would you want someone else to like kind of how would you want someone else to treat you, right? Or treat others how you want them to treat you, right?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what I really took away from them. Especially my mom, like she's very loving, very like selfless. Like if she has her last like dollar, she would give that to everyone else except for her, right? But once they split, I still held on to like those lessons to heart, right? It's like still caring for other people. And at that time, like I was very fortunate to have like Bea, right? Because she really showed me what a true love can really be, right?
Yeah.
It's like there's gonna be a lot of fights, there's gonna be a lot of like ups and downs, but as long as you're able to really push forward and like help each other grow through those struggles, that is what's gonna really help connect you guys like in a better way, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, I guess for me, like family, it's still about like togetherness, but it's really just like trying to provide unconditional love towards like your kids, your wife, right? Like your family, your friends, just everyone that you can really reach out to. But yeah, I guess that's mainly how I kind of see it.
Yeah. I find it interesting because like there's so many different ideas of what love is, right? Because there's so many people trying to figure out what love is, trying to understand how it plays a role in their life. I think I can confidently say that all of us have been like deeply in love.
Yeah.
Aside from family, familial love, like romantic love, right? We've all experienced that to some degree, and I mean, Alex, you're going on strong with like how long now? Like,
this month on the 13th, it's our 5-year.
wow, congratulations!
Thank you.
That's
Thank you. That's
something.
freaking fat number.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, I'm very lucky again, right? Like, we've definitely had so many arguments, like so many riffraffs here and there. But like, I've been very fortunate to have her like by my side, just because like the amount of struggle that I really went through. Yeah, I would say like it was a little hard to like open up to like my friends or like my family about that, right? But like she was mainly someone that I really went to, and she like kind of held it down, like when I was down. And so she kind of helped redefine love for me in a way. I'm just very happy, thankful.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
Have you what would you say is the biggest way that you've changed as a result of your relationship with Bea?
Oh, The biggest way that I've changed. Let's see.
Or what do you think is the most important to you?
To me, in like in building relationships.
In your experience with Bea, like over the past 5 years, like how has that relationship changed who you are? And I'm hoping for the better. I'm guessing.
Yeah,
I'm guessing for the better.
definitely
Yeah,
for the better.
Yeah, for the better.
Let's see. I need a minute to think about it.
You mentioned that she helps redefine or change your idea of love. Maybe you could expand upon that a little bit, or
Yeah. Well, I guess for me, like mainly I understood love from like what my family kind of offered, right? And even that, it's just like a familial love.
Yeah.
But like once, like again, like when my parents split, it was like I kind of had a misconstrued idea of love, right? Like, is there really love in the world? Right? I was like questioning all these aspects, right? But after I like met Bea, and she really showed me just like how much she really cares for me as a person, right?
Yeah.
Like she doesn't care how much money I have. She doesn't care about like what I drive, like any of like the material things of the world, right? She looks at me for who I am, and she sees that I'm someone that she really deeply cares about. And that's all I needed, right? Like I didn't think I needed anything else, right? It was just like having that sort of love and compassion for someone really helped like mold me, I guess, into who I am right now.
it's kind of like the idea of her seeing you for who you truly are.
Right.
Yeah, like you can be yourself
Yeah.
when you're with her.
And that's like the best part. We do like the dumbest stuff. Right? I was in Galleria Market the other day. I was walking down the aisle. She's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to this different aisle, right?"
Yeah.
She comes up and she grabs her phone and shoves it straight on my ass. I'm like, "What the heck is going on?" Right? But it's like that never would have happened, right? But she knows that it's just all fun and games, right?
Yeah.
From the bottom of my heart, I could never get. I would not be mad at her over that, right?
Yeah.
Like she's very like lighthearted. She's very loving, even though I don't like phones on my asses. But yeah, like all of that, she really sees me for who I am, right?
Yeah.
And I can see her for who she is as well.
Yeah, I can definitely see the same level of playfulness in her as I see in you. Yeah,
She's a
definitely.
goofball.
Yeah.
Number of pranks. Oh my gosh. She's coming out the bathroom. She's bah. She scares me out of nowhere. Just, my goodness.
Oh.
All right, we're gonna go a little bit deeper.
Yeah. Vulnerability.
Yes. What are you struggling with right now? What is something that you are having a hard time with? Something that you're working on, something that you're working towards, something that is holding you back. Just what are you struggling with?
Yeah. Okay, I have two. One of them is definitely my memory. My memory's been so rough lately. And it's just like remembering even the smallest of things, right? Like if I put something down, I'll go wipe my ass and then I'll come back and I will forget exactly where I put that same thing that I'm looking for, right?
Right.
And at first I was like, whatever, it's like very small. But then I started realizing that like, oh, it's kind of turning into a bigger problem, right? Like when I have something on a specific date, right? Like, oh, I got to meet my friends on this day, or I have like a fishing trip on this day, right? It all gets very jumbled up in my head. And so like my memory was really starting to get pretty bad, right? And so I guess one of the things that I've been doing was like I have a giant whiteboard in my room with like all the dates on it. And I've been trying to just be very organized, right? So whenever something comes up, I'll put it on like my board and then write down the date to kind of help me remember. But like I was never really an organized person before. I would just remember it all in my head.
Yeah.
So that's just like a minor thing that I've been kind of struggling with. But on the deeper side, I would say for a while I was struggling with determining what I wanted to do in life, right? Like there's so many different pathways that we can all really take. And it's like, damn, how do I decide what I want to do? Right. I'm still we're so young, 23. And on top of that, there's like a lot of added pressure from like my brother, like family, right? And to some extent, like even like friends, right? And don't get me wrong, I love seeing my friends do well, right? Because at the end of the day, I want us all to succeed together. Yeah. But it is like that probably has to do with my ego a little, right? Like it's like seeing a lot of people just going so fast and like running through life. And like I just need to take a step back and like take it slow, you know, like really redevelop my character, like who I really am. And so for me personally, like I really want to go into entrepreneurship, right? Like I want to create something that can help and be beneficial for other people. And at the end of the day, it's mainly just to help other people. And it's like, that's kind of what I envision as like a sense of freedom in a way, right? Because time is very important to me. And so when like there's certain steps that I know that I have to do each and every day in order to kind of better myself and put myself in the position to be where I want to be in the future. And that's also something that like I've been working on, like struggling with a little bit, right? Because it's very easy to fall back into bad habits. And so just working on like building better habits every day, like trying to figure out like where I want to head in life. And then those are like the main ones off the top of the dome in my memory.
No, it's a hard question to ask yourself. Do you have an approach, or is there a way that you're trying to figure out what specifically you want to do?
So I'm a big trier, right? Like I will try something and see what I like about it, see what I don't like about it, see what fails, see how I can kind of do better in the future with those failures. So for me, I've been like just building out crazy ideas, right? Like just trying them all out, like running them through and figuring out like, oh, this one doesn't work because of this, right? This one worked well because this happened, right? And then just trying to figure out like how I can kind of all put those together. And so, just for me, it's just mainly trying and failing and then learning from each of those failures to better myself.
Right. Is there something that you're leaning more towards?
In terms of like business wise? So we're starting off with like a 3D model of like the interior design of homes, right? Remember we were talking about like the VR portion of it. And I guess for me, like there was a lot of things I had to consider at that point, right? Like, okay, one, what kind of skills do I have at this current moment, right? We needed to use like Unity and Omniverse and a bunch of other different programs that like both of us weren't too familiar with, right? So there was a time that it took to learn that entire process. And then on top of that, like figure out how to throw it into VR, right? And then, so there was like a lot of aspects that I really liked about it too, right? I was like, oh, you can kind of envision what it looks like to live in like a home. Like you don't need to visit it or drive to it in person. But some of the things that I learned from that was like, one, I got to take into account the skills that I currently have. Two, I need to make sure that the problem is big enough where it's like a big enough pain point in the clients, like just for the clients in general, right? And honestly, like they can just drive to the location, just like stopping a little bit lazy. And three, those are like the two main ones that I took away. But one thing that I have been working more towards was like a dog walking service.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so like I love dogs. Like everyone loves dogs, right? They're nice and soft, friendly. And then like the big problem that I saw was it would like people are busy. Right? They have work, they have school, they're tired when they come back. And sometimes they just don't have enough time to really walk their dogs. So that was like one of the problems that it would solve. And then skills wise, like I can walk dogs, right? Like I can hold them.
Yeah.
Learning how to be more organized. So writing down when like each scheduling would be, when they would when we would come in, walk the dogs, do all of that. So that's the next venture that I'm currently on.
Okay.
Nice.
Wow. Sounds exciting. Like, I hope it pans out well for you.
Yeah, thank you. I'll keep you guys updated.
If you ever don't want to walk my dog,
Let's go.
first client, right?
First client, solid.
All right. And Serbin, yourself?
Yeah, so I've really been pondering the idea of loneliness. I guess I've been struggling with whether I'm lonely or whether I'm alone,
Okay.
and the distinction between the two. And
Wait, can you bring your mic closer to you?
yeah, so yeah, figuring out the distinction between the two. And I remember reading a random comment on Reddit or something. It was like, you can't be lonely if you enjoy the company of your own, which I really resonated with because I do believe I enjoy my own company. So that led to the question of, am I alone? And I think I am. I am very alone. And yeah, like I have you guys. I have a lot of close friends that I can talk to. But I think the thing I missed the most about a relationship was the idea of being psychologically seen, and that idea of being someone for someone else, and then having someone else for your own for you.
Right.
That kind of idea, and yeah, it's different when it's like a relationship. I think that's something I miss the most.
So you're speaking in terms of a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
Correct? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very hard distinction. Alone versus alone.
Right.
Do you think that you're coming to better, to being alone better? Are you able to better come to terms with the time that you spend alone? Or how are you dealing with this?
I think it's something I've had to build up over time because I got used to the idea of having someone there for me.
Right.
So when that cut off, I had to kind of learn how to be happy with myself and being alone with myself, which I've improved a lot with lately, or just like over the course of the years. But yeah, there's a lot of fish in the sea.
Yeah, a lot of fish in the sea.
I don't want to like go out of my way to force it, which I don't know if is the right approach. But I know there's someone out there for me.
For sure, 100%.
So are you actively looking to date?
I'm ready to mingle.
You're ready to mingle.
Okay.
I don't know if I would say I'm actively, because I'm not going out of my way. I'm kind of just letting it happen.
Like if someone comes by, it's
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, like if it happens, then like you'll go with it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is something that I've actually pondered myself. It's like, to what extent should I go out to meet new people, right? And like potentially find a partner. Like there's different approaches to this, right? There's like people that go like all the way, like they go out constantly, like they go like online dating, bars, or they just try and meet people, right?
Yeah.
And there's other people, like Serbin, like you said, that are more content to like wait, see like if it happens, it'll happen, but not forcing it, right? Not forcing it. So I'm curious, like, what do you guys think that there is? I don't think there's a right approach.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's different for everyone. But do you think there's a better approach? Is there something that would work better for us as
Yeah.
individuals? Like, what do you think, Alex?
Well, so I think it really depends on the person and like what they're actively searching for, right? And one big problem that I really see is like our culture is very sexualized, right? It's like Tinder's become not just a dating app; it's more like
It's a hookup.
like a hookup,
yeah.
right? Like a hookup app. It's just like trying to see who you can kind of like get with, right? But if that's not, and I'm not like bashing on it, right? There's some people where like that's kind of what they really want to do, and like that's the path that they can kind of go. But for the other side, who's looking more for like the relationship, one-on-one, not just like a one-night stand type of thing, it is important that you kind of have to make yourself seen a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily mean like going to bars or going to like clubs or any of that, right? It can be more along the lines of, you know, just going to the library, finding a cute librarian to talk to, right? Like just someone you see every single day, right? Like someone, it could be someone working at the grocery market, right?
Yeah.
Like, but you kind of just see them and just like slowly build up that connection with them, right? Yeah, that's my answer.
That's a big thing for me because I'm on campus a lot, so I'll see a lot of cute.
Yeah.
But I guess my like that fear of rejection. I guess it's kind of just like I don't want to cold approach. I'd kind of have to see the person a lot.
Yeah, like are there any like cute girls in your classroom? You know, like someone you sit close to?
No, yeah. So the women I have tried to approach, they all had boyfriends, but they all had partners. So it was just, I definitely tried, especially this semester. There's about 3 people that like I started talking to and kind of try to get to know, and just didn't pan out. So yeah, it's just one of those things that happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would say like don't let that stop you from continue to try, right?
Because
A couple of no's like should not define who you are, right? Yeah. And like one thing my mom said was like, you know, the worst thing like that person can say to you is no, right? And it's just like, okay, fuck it. It's one no. I'm not gonna like try to take that too much to heart because I know that there is gonna be that like one yes in the future, right? Yeah. But I will say, dude, you're doing a great job. I mean, talking to people, that in itself is it's scary, man. It's scary. Yeah, but you're doing great, man.
Yeah, that's something that I myself regret not doing more in college, putting myself out there more. Yeah. Just trying to meet new people, right? It doesn't even have to be like a romantic relationship, but like just meeting new people. Because like especially like looking back now, I realized that college was such a big opportunity for you to just meet random people. Right? Well, not completely random, but yeah, we will start wrapping this up. Thank you guys for coming on. I really appreciate the conversation that we had.
Thank you for hosting us, Mr. Allen.
Here. Thank you guys.
Great talks.